Our bodies, again, were built differently, and have not been able to adapt to have the ability to put on the brakes when it comes to these processed foods, just because it's come on the scene so quickly.
Mhm. Yeah, and yeah, I think this is important. There's a lot of different satiety mechanisms that come into play at different time scales, but in nature, these things are sort of all stacked on top of each other in a way that we've just gotten around through being able to engineer our own foods. And I think it's important to really emphasize this. One of my biggest pet peeves that certain types of people bring up in this discussion is, people will sort of cherry pick from the ethnographic record. They'll say, well, what about the Hadza people? They eat 60% of their calories from honey,
Mm.
blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, yes, but they also have to climb a tree and then fight off bees to get the honey. They eat it with the waxes and the larvae, and it's seasonal. So there's always baked in limitations.
Right, exactly. And, again, I think we also need to keep in mind, like, yes, what we're eating is important, but like you're suggesting, there's a lot of other stuff that contributes to, stressors in our environment that, can lead us to then want to overeat sugar. That's one of the key components I think that often doesn't get discussed. We have a lot of other things that contribute to, what we eat, and how that's going to have an impact on our body. If you're an ultra marathon runner, like, you probably could get away with eating more sugar and having a lot of these things, compared to somebody who maybe is very sedentary, or just has a regular office job and doesn't really get that much exercise. So it's all, like you said, yeah, I do not like the cherry picking either, because it leaves out the whole, like, holistic aspect of this, that there's interconnected components that we need to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Um, and I guess this relates to the question, sort of a similar question that I often see out there in the, yeah, in the zeitgeist here, which is, sometimes people will make the argument, glucose can't possibly be bad for you, sugar can't possibly be bad for you, because even all organisms are designed or evolved to use glucose as a fuel source. It's an efficient substrate for ATP production, so it can't be bad for you in any context.
Yeah, I've heard that. And, anything could be, I mean, that's like saying, like, if you just keep putting gasoline in your car until it's covered, leaking out, that how could that be bad for your car? Well, yeah, that's just because the car was only designed to hold a certain amount of gasoline. Same with our brains and our bodies when it comes to sugar. I really don't think we were designed to, have products that we're consuming that have, 50 or 60 grams of sugar in one serving. You're never going to find that in
Yeah,
nature.
every day, all year.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think we need to keep in mind that, yes, our body uses glucose as a fuel, but our body can make glucose as a fuel. We don't need to eat it in order for our body to make it. And so I think that, there is a bit, I think, of miscommunication out there around actually how much sugar we need to survive. There's plenty of people who really hardly eat any sugar. Look at all the people who do, like, hardcore keto, for example. They might not be consuming carbohydrates in a meaningful way, but they're still alive and walking around because their body is going to produce the glucose for them. Now, I'm not advocating, that as a long-term solution, but it just proves the point that,
Yeah,
you don't need glucose in order to survive, because I think that,
you don't
or
need
need
to eat it.
you don't need to
Yeah,
eat it.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.